What's up, everybody? We are back. We are here for our NFL playoff previews. Now, I know what you're thinking because you see AFC in the title, and I told you guys I would not be doing the AFC, but we had a little scheduling mishap. So I'm hopping on with Pat today. And it's actually going to be fun, Pat, because although I am doing the introduction, I'm going to be your guest. So I'm just chilling. And you're doing all the work, and it's kind of like I don't know. I don't know what it's kind of like, but it's going to be fun for me because I've been up since like 4 o'clock this morning. So, I mean,
Well, I mean, you
can't
already
get much
started
better.
the intro, so it's technically your episode, but I mean, I will run it in terms of what we will be discussing, and we can get right into it. Basically, let's get started.
Well, no, I
Um,
have I have something I need to say first. So, um,
oh well, then so it's not my episode; it's your episode. So I'll sit back and let you do what you got to do.
oh, why don't you put pants on too, since you're sitting in fucking boxers and a t-shirt?
Hey,
You
we
know,
both have long days, all right? No,
at least I'm fully
I'm
clothed.
showered.
Oh,
I'm ready for bed, man. This is what I sleep in.
for those of you who don't
It's nice and
know,
warm in my room. I'm comfortable.
For those of you who don't know, I told Pat, yeah, we could record at 7. And then I give him like, all right, I need 10 minutes. And then I was like, I need 10 more minutes. And then I come on, his bed's not even made behind me or behind him. He doesn't have pants on. I was like, I gave him all this time, and this is what we're doing. Anyway, if that's not what you came to the end of the bench show for, I don't know what is.
I think we don't have to even have the rest of the episode. I think we're leaving our viewers and our listeners with enough knowing
Right.
my clothing option for
Yes. Pat's
this episode.
boxers to the Super Bowl is our prediction from the AFC. All
Yo,
right,
what's
Pat.
the line on that?
I think it depends. Like if you take boxers versus the field, I think boxers pays out like 2-1. But like I
Shit, I'm
don't
gonna be
know.
making some money there.
I don't know. Like
Aren't I?
I think you could probably beat the Browns and the Colts, but I don't know if your boxers get past like Kansas City and Buffalo. You know?
Oh, you see, I thought you were doing like a joke there with the Browns, but you
No,
kind
it's
of
the
just
happy accident.
you went over your own head on that.
Yep.
Man,
As
that
most
would have
things
been
do.
clever had you realized what you were saying. All right, well, even though as much of our listeners probably enjoy this discussion, why don't we get into whatever you really wanted to discuss, and then start our planned agenda for this episode.
That is what I wanted to discuss.
Oh, okay. So you just want to let the world know that your partner here is in
Yeah.
nothing but t-shirt and boxers. All right, cool.
Yep.
Well, there you go. Yeah, Katie's gonna love that. Oh my god,
Well,
she's
it's
gonna
not
be like,
like
"What the hell are you guys talking about?"
It's not like you're standing up, you know.
No, I don't plan to. So you guys are safe there. I'm sure it wouldn't be that pretty, anyways.
Yeah, not a lot of people watching
Very
YouTube
true.
anyway.
Anyway, so all right. Well, let's just get right into it then, Scott. How about that? So we got a big weekend this weekend, wildcard weekend. It's a little different because of the playoff format with only one team in each league getting buys. So let's get right into it and discuss. We got 3 games in the AFC. The first one we're going to discuss is the number 2 Buffalo Bills versus the number 7 Indianapolis Colts. Bills finished with a record of 13-3, and Colts finishing 11-5. This game's going to be on Saturday, January 9th at 1:05 p.m. is scheduled kickoff. According to ESPN, as much as I hate referring to ESPN, I didn't check Bleacher Report, unfortunately, but I do have ESPN's numbers right now. Spread is Bills -6.5, over under 51.5. And as far as a head-to-head record in 2020 season, they did not play each other. So these two teams are meeting each other for the first time. So I think that's definitely interesting. It's going to be basically a lot of tape throughout the week to try and figure out, the weaknesses and the spots that they should be hitting the most on both sides. And I'll start off right off the bat. We'll get right into it with the Buffalo Bills, who finally have won an AFC East title after being in the cellar for so long, being behind Brady and Belichick's Patriots. This is a year that they balled out, and Josh Allen put up one hell of a MVP caliber season. I don't know about you, but I think he's at least should be in somewhat of a top 3 for voting in the MVP. I mean, the guy was just insane this year.
Yeah, I mean, look, like, when we were doing the AFC's preview, I made the statement Josh Allen's the best quarterback in the AFC East. I clearly was right because Cam Newton looked like a shell of himself. And right now, I mean, you could make the argument, it's Mahomes, Rodgers, and then Josh Allen is not only top 3 MVP, because I think those are the top 3 MVP candidates, but also just top 3 quarterback in the NFL the way he's playing this year. A large part of that is due to Stephon Diggs' arrival in Buffalo, which I think is going to be a big part of this game, because the Colts have a very good pass defense. But one thing that the Bills can counteract is they have a receiver, for every level. You look at a guy like Stephon Diggs, one of the best receivers in the NFL, probably a little underrated going into the year. I don't think he's underrated now. That's for damn sure. He could run any route on the tree. And you look at Cole Beasley. If the defense wants to take away deep shots to Diggs and Brown, Cole Beasley will eat you up in the middle of the field on the underneath routes. And then John Brown is a pretty good deep threat himself. So, I mean, they have something for every punch that the Colts defense is going to throw at them. For when Josh Allen drops back. And then, I mean, it's going to be on him, right? It's going to be, are we going to see Josh Allen of this regular season, or are we going to see Josh Allen of last season's postseason where he, kind of shit the bed, and that's what it's going to come down to for me.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen the Colts defense too much. I took a look at some of the stats for the year for all these teams and where they pretty much finished. In terms of total offense, the Bills ranked second in yards per game at just under 400. And the Colts defense was eighth in the league, totaling giving up 332 yards per game. So it's quite a matchup in terms of it. I'm not sure too fully aware of the Colts secondary as well as others, but like you said, Josh Allen's got the weapons and he finds ways to make plays, and if he's not doing it with his arms, he's going to be doing it with his legs. He had 421 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns this year. He is the definition of a mobile quarterback, and not to mention he's got that arm. 4,500 yards, fifth in the league. He was averaging 284 yards a game, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. So that's just a basic gist of what Josh Allen did on the field this year. So he can do it with both his arm and his legs, and I think the Bills have that advantage in terms of how they're going to run this offense. There's really no stopping Josh Allen at this point. You just have to try and contain him. If you got these receivers covered on the outside, or you got Cole Beasley down underneath, Allen is just going to look for that hole, and he's going to take off. And that he's done it all year. He's put up amazing numbers. He's having the MVP season, like we said. I think it's going to be very tough for the Colts to stop that. I mean, the other running backs, they have Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. Very good. The running offense, the rushing offense was not the greatest for the Bills this year. It was definitely, they did everything in the air, but just knowing that Josh Allen has the ability to and agility to move in and out up and down the field, I think that's easily gives them the upper hand in this matchup. Yeah,
and you mentioned the running backs. I mean, much like the receivers, where they have someone for everything. Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, very much the same. They have Singletary, he's a finesse guy. He's good out of the backfield catching the ball. Zach Moss, a little bit more power. He'll be in around the goal line, third down, whatever. And I just think that when you have this many things to worry about as a defense, in such an important game against, really good competition in the Bills. I mean, the Bills are the number 2 seed in the AFC for a reason. It's not a fluke. I just think that defensively, if I'm the Colts, I think the Colts can keep the Colts offense in the game, but I don't think the Colts offense will be able to do enough to overthrow Buffalo. To me, for the line to be 6.5, I mean, it obviously tells me we're predicting a touchdown game, which I think is fair because it's the playoffs. You don't want to expect a blowout. But I just see Josh Allen and all his weapons being able to crack the code of the Colts defense, and I don't think the Colts offense could crack the Buffalo defense enough. Like, I don't think they're going to get shut out, but I don't think you're going to stop this offense, the Bills offense, like enough to win this game for the Colts.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, they do have some good pass rushers on the Colts. You got Darius Leonard at linebacker, and DeForest Buckner on the defensive line. But yeah, like you said, I think the Bills offense will ultimately overlook the Colts defense, no matter how good they may have been or how pressed they may be for this game. I think ultimately this is going to be the Bills' game to lose. I don't think it's necessarily going to be a blowout. I've seen a lot of analysts and such seeing the line, the over under being, what did we say, 51.5. A lot of them are saying under. With final scores and anywhere between like a 27-20 or something along that. It's definitely like within 7 to 10 points is what the final score would be.
Well, I mean, that's also because like 51 is a key number in the NFL in terms of betting. So when you see 51.5, a lot of people are going to go under. Just because like the most common spread is 3, 51 is a common number, so that's 27-24. That's usually like what you would predict. So that's probably why people are taking the under. But you mentioned like the Colts pass rush, and I think it's important to note, like, how afraid are they going to be of Josh Allen's legs? Because if they're going to be really afraid of Josh Allen and him running the ball himself, or like the screen passes to Singletary and or Moss, or even like you get crazy, you do like Diggs or another receiver in that spot. Like, how aggressive is your pass rush going to be? And I just worry that if it's not aggressive enough, Josh Allen can just pick them apart with Stephon Diggs and company. And if it's too aggressive, then he takes off. And then I guess he's shown that, he can fumble the ball when he runs, but I don't know if I want to take that chance either. So like, it's going to be, as any game, it's going to be a cat and mouse game for sure. My other point that I want to touch on with you is that Phillip Rivers is the Colts quarterback. He has played his career in San Diego / LA, right? I think he played 1 year in LA.
He's been with the Chargers.
And now he's playing
regardless of where their location is.
Yeah, he's playing indoors on the Colts, and this game's in Buffalo, and it's fucking January. So like, I don't know. I don't know if Phillip Rivers has played in the game that's going to be as cold as it is on Sunday. I don't even know what the weather is.
Yeah, it's definitely
Buffalo in January. It's going to be cold.
Yeah, it's definitely home field advantage for the Bills, but we also can't knock the idea that a possible upset is available. It can be there because Phillip Rivers is that veteran who can lead his team. I mean, it's very unfortunate that Rivers and his playoff success and not be able to come close to a Super Bowl. It is a little upsetting given the good years that he had with Chargers. I feel like he gets very overlooked at that sometimes. But it's not like he's got some scrubs with the Colts. I mean, Jonathan Taylor was probably one of the better running backs in the league this year. He's just very, very underrated in terms of how you people think of Derrick Henry and these big name guys. But Jonathan Taylor, 232 attempts, 1,169 yards. That's actually good for third in the league. He averaged 5 yards a carry, still had 11 touchdowns on the year. So he is a factor in this game. In terms of the Bills rush defense, taking a look at that, if everything not to mention all the stats that I looked up are pretty much off of like ESPN and NFL.com and everything like that. So the Bills defense was over as a whole ranked 17th in rushing yards per game given up. I think messed up the number, but 17th. So it's not like they were a shutdown running team. So Taylor could hurt them. It absolutely is possible. And then let's not forget, you have T.Y. Hilton and Zach Pascal on the outside for Rivers to look for. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, definitely. I have no doubts about that.
Which T.Y. Hilton shows up? Is it the T.Y. Hilton that like 95% of the world had to drop in fantasy because he couldn't catch a fucking ball?
Yeah.
Or is it the regular T.Y. Hilton? You know, like I know, like, look, I mean, we had an argument about the Colts in our NFL preview between the Colts and the Titans.
We did.
And I mean, the Titans won the division because they had the tiebreaker, but like the Colts were right there. So we were kind of like both right in a sense. You were more right.
We were both right. I give that a fair, split. A fair tie. I mean, my prediction won.
Yeah.
Your prediction was that they were gonna win, and in theory, they did outside of the tiebreaker. So I mean, yeah, we were both right. You know, but I'm glad ultimately the Titans were the winners, so that makes me a little bit smarter there. But
no, I mean, Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like we both said, we were high on the Colts this year, given the fact that they brought in Phillip Rivers, and they still had some young talent, and talent in general, and they go ahead and they drafted Jonathan Taylor, which I believe was his draft last year. I believe he was a rookie. I could be wrong though, but either way, he really just he stepped up and just did work. He's definitely going to be a force to reckon with in the coming years, if you ask me. Guy's got the talent. He's got the speed, the agility, the power. I mean, third in the league in yards. It's unbelievable.
I agree. So let's pick it and then move on. So do you want to pick it with the spread or just straight up, or both?
Maybe both. I'm a little skeptical with the spread here. I think it's kind of tough, but at 6.5, it's really tough for me to really pick it. But I may have to take Bills in the over, but it's going to be by a touchdown.
Doing the over too? Jesus Christ!
No. I mean they cover by a touchdown. I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, what? I'm not ready to do the.
No.
If we're doing over under,
I'm not going to be good with
the under. So.
Nah. Yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't do over under, but like I said, a lot of people were taking the under, I believe, but I would take the Bills in this. I think they win by at least 7. I mean, maybe even a field goal or two could be a factor in here as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I talked way too highly about Josh Allen on this episode to not take the Bills minus 6.5. So that's where I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's not also forget, the Bills secondary itself was very good this year when you had Trey White and Jordan Poyer manning that backfield. And, Phillip Rivers, he has Pascal Hilton on the outside, but I mean, guys like White, Poyer, and the rest of that secondary can definitely shut them down. I think that's going to be ultimately, I think that could be a factor when it comes to the outcome of the game.
Yeah. And look, 6.5, like, still a close game. And that's fine. That's all I really want in the playoffs is,
you want close games in the playoffs. You don't want to see blowouts. Well, you don't want to see blowouts necessarily.
Unless the Jets were in it.
Especially if it's a team that you're not a fan of. I mean, like, obviously if you have money on the game or something, that's different. But I mean, if it's a team that you're a fan of, why not see your team just run up the score? But when you have casual fans or Jet fans where your team doesn't see the playoffs, then you want to see good games. You don't see it at all throughout the year.
It's actually interesting that you said if you have money on it, because at 6.5, you could tease it down to Bills minus 0.5, which is essentially a pick 'em. That'd be fun.
Essentially, yeah.
You'd have to find another thing to tease it with, but whatever. All right, let's move on to the next one.
So we're both saying Bills cover. We're both taking the Bills in this game.
Yeah.
Which I'd probably say like 90% of America is probably going to take too.
Well,
All right. So
right now 63% is leaning that way. So
fair. All right. So we got the second game. I'll try to do it in order. So our second game would be the number 4 Tennessee Titans versus the number 5 Baltimore Ravens. That's Sunday.
Can we do this one last?
You want to do that one last?
Yeah.
All right, then. See, You tell me to run the episode,
Because
and here I am trying, and you're trying to change it up.
Because the next, though, the Browns Steelers is so, like, I could not care less about it. I don't want to end it on that tone.
Okay. All right. I thought maybe this would be a little. Well, I mean, both these final two games I think are pretty interesting. So, all right, fine. We'll move it up then. All right. So, number 3, Pittsburgh Steelers versus number 6, Cleveland Browns. Steelers went 12-4. Browns 11-5. That's Sunday, January 10th at 8:15 p.m. scheduled kickoff. The opening line has the Steelers minus 3.5 over under 47. Head-to-head record this year was 1-1 tie. In their first matchup, I don't have the exact score, but I know the Steelers blew out the Browns. I think it was like 35-7 or 38-7, something like that. And then in their second matchup, after the Steelers came back down to earth because they truly weren't the undefeated team that their record was showing. And that proved it the last like 4 weeks of the year where they lost all but one of their final games, I think. The Browns ended up taking that. Again, I don't have the final score.
24-20.
But here comes, was it 24-22? All right.
Yeah.
But now here's the rubber matchup in the AFC title game. I mean, the Steelers are clearly going to be favorited in this, having the better record than they winning the division. Their offensive ranks, though, I mean, you look at it, it wasn't great in terms of, what you expect. I mean, if the numbers are all correct, they were 25th in total yards per game, 15th passing yards per game, and 32nd in rushing yards a game. So they essentially had no rushing game. James Conner is basically non-existent. It was their defense that really won them everything. 3rd in total yards per game, 3rd in passing yards per game, and 11th in rushing yards per game. So they had one of the best defenses of the league, and that's clearly what got them to where they were. I mean, you look at T.J. Watt, dude was an absolute beast this year, 15 sacks. Like, that's unbelievable. I mean, talk about what the hell does that Watt family feed their children? My God.
Oh, no. No, my mom didn't feed me that stuff. That's all I know.
I mean, apparently it's a lot of Subway, according to those commercials. But
if it's Subway, I'll pass.
But I mean,
I'm all set.
It's the defense that's going to be the factor for them. Obviously, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger. Do we even know if he's going to be playing in this game? I mean, I would assume he is because I don't see why the Steelers are going to go into this wild card game with Mason Rudolph.
Wait, why wouldn't he play? I didn't know he
taking
was
the ball.
hurt.
I thought I know they had sat him. I didn't know if he was completely injured.
No, the Steelers, well, I mean, he's always banged up, but the Steelers benched like almost everyone important for week 17 because they didn't have a bye this year because of COVID. So that's why, to my knowledge, that's why he sat. I think he's as fully healthy as Ben Roethlisberger ever is, which is not always 100%, but he's definitely playing. I mean, that would be news to me if he's not.
I mean, that we can't ever really count him out when it comes to playoff football. I mean, the guy does have 2 Super Bowl rings. It's a matter of the weapons that he has, and it seems like this year it just wasn't working for him. Juju Smith-Schuster had a fairly decent year, but definitely underperformed in terms of what we anticipated him to be. He had 128 targets, 831 yards, 9 touchdowns. I mean, his number 1 receiver actually this year was Deontay Johnson, who he targeted 144 times for 923 yards. And then, like we said, James Conner was a little bit underwhelming, 169 attempts, only 721 yards. So I don't know what else to really say on the Steelers offense. I think they have to step up. I mean, plain and simple. It's, crunch time at this point. You can't rely on your defense to totally win this game. You're going to have to put up some points and just let your defense do the rest.
Yeah. So I have a few things based off what you said. So say to never count Ben Roethlisberger out. I've counted him out all year, so I'm not going to change that now. I did the AFC North preview with Perkowski. And we talked about literally everything that went like wrong for the Steelers. Like we said that James Conner was not going to have a good year. We said that their run offense wouldn't be good. And we had, serious questions about Big Ben, like playing a full year. Turns out like he basically did play a full year. I think he had like 33 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. So it's not a terrible season. It's just like when you look at him and when you watch him play, like it doesn't exude confidence. Like if I'm a Steeler fan, which I'm not, but like if I was, like I would not be feeling great about watching Ben Roethlisberger drop back to pass on Saturday. Like I just wouldn't. The dude doesn't look like he can move. And then my other point with
definitely hasn't aged as well as a guy like Rodgers and Rivers in terms of production and what they could do in their later years.
Which is fine. Very few do. So like that's not
right.
I mean, totally Ben Roethlisberger's fault. I mean, a lot of that is just like pure fucking luck. A lot of it is also, dieting and the workout stuff, which Ben just doesn't seem to care about, which is, also fine.
Clearly doesn't do.
Who are we to criticize him for that? My other thing is like Juju Smith-Schuster is someone I really like as a player. He has made himself very well known on TikTok throughout 2020, throughout the 2020 season. Does the dances on the midfield logo every game, like when he's warming up, and I just like love that as a fan, first of all. But like, I don't know. I think it makes people really fucking excited to play the Steelers, and when you're playing a division rival in the playoffs, and they have that added excitement to it. Like, I don't know. It just makes me really nervous for the Steelers on Saturday because I think it's just like fuel to the fire, not billboard material. Whatever the fucking locker room, like wall material, whatever the hell you want to call it. And I just think I think if I'm a Steeler fan, I'm pretty nervous because I don't know if you even played well enough, like for the other team to really like be scared of you. And then you're dancing on everyone's logo. Like, I don't know. I don't want to sound like an old.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
I don't know about it.
No, I agree with you. I mean, it basically got to a point where it seemed like he was focusing more on his views than he was his stats and what he could do to help his team, which is unfortunate because he does have a lot of talent. But, I mean, the Steelers throughout this entire season, they got up to, 9-0, 10-0, something like that, and then kind of fell off. They were not as good as their record had said. I mean, you look at the teams that they beat. They beat the Giants in the first week, Broncos, fought with the Texans. I mean, they didn't really blow anybody out of the water except for the Browns in their first meeting. I mean, they blew out the Jaguars. I mean, that's not surprising. They blew out the Bengals 36-10, but then they later lost to the Bengals 27-17. And I think at that point, Burrow was already out, if I'm correct. I may be wrong on that. It's just, I don't know. They definitely were not as good as their record stated. I think that's pretty clear. I think a lot of people can agree with that. Some may argue it. I would say based on who they played, how they played, and the scores of those games, it wasn't as dominating as you may think. I think definitely, like you said, the Browns have kind of like an axe to pick coming into this game. They won the previous game. Now it's kind of like, all right, let's shut them down for real and move on. And I mean, maybe not low key. I'm still having trouble with my prediction on this one, but the Browns definitely have what you were saying.
I don't have. I knew who I was picking as soon as the matchup was announced, so I don't have any problems with it.
Well, wait. Should we wait for that then?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously
we haven't even talked about.
So we haven't discussed the Browns really. We haven't even talked about the Browns. All right. Well, looking at their offensive rankings throughout the year: 16th total yards, 24th passing yards per game, I should add, and third in rushing yards per game. So definitely they know how to run the ball. I mean, you got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt as good a 1-2 as you could ask. Chubb at 190 attempts, 1,000 yards on the year, 1,067 to be precise, 12 touchdowns. Hunt, 198 attempts, 841 yards, 6 touchdowns. So they definitely have the running backs capable of doing damage. But, we discussed, and if anything, you'd say that the rushing was the quote unquote weakness for the Steelers offense this year, given how they fared in rushing defense. On the defensive side of the ball, continuing on the offense, Baker Mayfield had a good year. 3,500 yards, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He was ninth in the league with a 72.4 QBR. Jarvis Landry and Austin Hooper were probably his two top targets. Landry had 101 targets, Hooper 70. Combined, they each had 7 touchdowns on the year. So Mayfield does have this rapport, I guess, with guys like Landry and Hooper. It seems like he knows what he's doing with them. You compile that with the offense. If you ask me, this is a good matchup. You're looking at a not superior offense, but compared to what the Steelers are going to be potentially throwing out there with how unfortunate their offense has been this year. You got a very good up-and-coming offense with the Browns versus one of the best defenses in the league, the Steelers. So and hopefully both sides are at full strength, so you get like the best matchup you could possibly get.
Yeah, and most of the guys on the Browns injury report, they were participants in practice to some extent on Wednesday, so that's good. This is the day we're recording. And Jarvis Landry, who's the big one, and I guess Myles Garrett is also the big one, were full participants. So that's looking up. The other thing with the Browns we have to talk about is Kevin Stefanski will not be on the sideline because he is in COVID protocols. So I think their special teams coach is going to fill in, I guess. And I don't.
Is Stefanski going to be in the building? Is he going to be up in the booth?
No,
I didn't see anything about that.
I heard that he is not allowed in the stadium, so he will be at home.
Really?
Is what I heard.
Wow. Okay, that's going to be interesting then.
Yeah. So obviously, I did not play football. I know you played football very little. So it would I don't know how much that's going to matter in the wild card round. I don't want to say it like that because it's obviously it's going to matter. But how will it?
Well,
I think swing the game. I don't know if it'll swing the game because the special teams guy is filling in, right? And I had this conversation with someone, regarding the Giants and Joe Judge and why he's such a good game manager his first season as a coach. And I think it's because he's a special teams guy. And every, key game managing situation involves special teams. So from a game managing standpoint, this guy filling in from Stefanski will probably do an okay job. I don't think he's going to totally fuck it up. But I don't know what else Stefanski brings. Does he hype the guys
I think
up?
that's
I don't know. Do you need to get
that's the thing we don't. Yeah, that's the thing that we don't know. We don't know how. Clearly, I'm sure that the relationship between the head coach and his players for the Browns is much better than some other teams that we know of. But we don't really know if his absence together is going to be a factor. I would assume that it probably will have a little bit of a setback. But I feel like there's something about special teams coaches when they get an opportunity or they, as a whole, they're fairly respected throughout the league. Special teams can be so overlooked by fans and analysts, but you do realize that almost on every drive you get in your special teams at some point, one or in some way or another. I think the coaching will be fine. I'm sure they definitely have a game plan set up. They know what to call. They've studied. I think we're definitely going to see a lot of Hunt and Chubb more than we will with Mayfield and his arm. I could be wrong, but just based off of how good the pass defense has been for the Steelers and how fairly decent, but not on the same level as their pass defense as the rush defense. So I think we're definitely going to see more running than we are
Yeah.
Mayfield going to the air, and I think that Browns have that game plan going in. And I think even with the absence of their head coach, they know what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it also helps that I think they've known this for a week, since the beginning of the week. So it's not like a big surprise 2 days before the game or something. So I think that does help a little bit. And I think obviously it being the wild card round, everyone's continuity is just better at this point in the season. So I don't think it'll play. Oh, maybe we're dead wrong, pal, but I don't think it'll play.
We could be. I mean, very strong possibility we are dead wrong, but
it won't be the first time. It certainly won't be the last. So, but one thing I wanted to say about the Browns is that when I did the preview this season with Perkowski, I think I basically said this is the same I feel as last year about the Browns. I know I'm supposed to be excited, but they haven't shown me reasons to be excited. And this year, they showed me reasons to be excited. They showed me reasons to believe in them. They showed me reasons not to believe in them sometimes, but they showed me reasons as to why, they truly belong in the playoffs and why they're a good team. And I think they're going to be a tough out for the Steelers.
I agree.
And I think for, as Jet fans, pal, we can relate. I mean, we can't even relate on this level, to be honest, but we know what it's like to struggle year after year after year. And I mean, for the Cleveland Brown fan base that's so loyal, from everything that I hear and read, just really excited that their fans get to experience this team, this pretty good football team, in a playoff game against a division opponent. I think it's just really great for their fans to be able to experience. I wish one day soon I'll be able to do that.
Hopefully. Let's not get too far into that. We have other episodes we can discuss that. But I mean, yeah. So let's get down to it. I'm going to ask you because honestly, I'm still very conflicted in this pick. I feel like I could honestly just flip a coin and whatever it lands is fine. But who are you taking in this game?
What spread are we doing? Is it 6?
It was 3.5 per ESPN. As I was doing my notes, I can double check Bleacher Report. I think it's still at 3.5 though.
No, it's at 6. That's why I asked.
Now it's 6. All right, so it changed. Bleacher Report has it at 6. So it changed from when I first completed my notes.
All right, so that means it probably opened at 3.5 or 4, and now it's at 6. Which makes sense. I'm gonna take Cleveland plus 6. I feel pretty good about it. I just think when it's all said and done, I think Cleveland can control this game with the run, and it's really that simple in my brain. If they don't give up big plays to the Steelers offense on the pass, in their passing game, and they can just control the clock with Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And I mean, Mayfield, Mayfield isn't a slouch. I think he's shown that he is a very competent quarterback in this league. Does he make some mistakes? Yeah, but he's been making good plays too. I trust him a little more than Big Ben, because if I get pressure on Big Ben, which I know Myles Garrett definitely will be getting pressure on Big Ben, he ain't going anywhere except the fucking ground. So I mean, I trust the Browns a lot more. I mean, look, do I like Mike Tomlin more than the Browns special team coach? Yeah, probably. I probably like him more. But I see the Browns. I mean, especially I could see the Steelers winning, but I don't see it being by more than 6. So I'm gonna go Browns.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I think ultimately the Browns do win this game. If the Steelers win, I don't think they would cover. I will say that.
Yeah.
As good as the defense has been all year, the last several weeks, it's been fairly concerning for them because they've given up 20 or more points in each of the final 5 weeks of the year. And all but one of those was a win. All but one of those was a loss, excuse me. So, yes, defense absolutely wins championships, but if your defense has been a little bit underperforming over the final few games and your offense clearly hasn't been putting up the numbers that you had anticipate them to do, it's kind of hard to win a Super Bowl, let alone get past the wild card round, let alone win a Super Bowl. So I think I'd have to take the Browns in this game. But if the Steelers win, not going to be shocked. But I don't think they cover the 6. I think if they win, it'll be like by 3 or 4.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's go to the last one. It should be the last.
All right, so the last one,
Sunday, but it's not.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked because this is another toss-up game. We got the number 4 Tennessee Titans and the number 5 Baltimore Ravens, both finished with 11-5 records. This game is going to be on Sunday at 1:05 p.m. kickoff. I'm going to double check the line on Bleacher Report as of right now because chances are it is different. Is it 3.5? Okay, yeah. So it changed from when I did my notes. It was 4.5. So it was Ravens 3.5 now. Then I think the over/under is probably around like 54, 55. The head-to-head record, Titans beat the Ravens in their one and only matchup this year. I don't have the exact score, but I actually was a little more excited to discuss this one because it involved a team where you thought I was crazy when I picked them to win their division, and I love being correct in a certain way. So their offensive rankings this year. Third in total yards per game, second in rushing yards per game, because we all know why. Now their passing offense, not great. 23rd. Yeah. But Tannehill, it's not like Tannehill had a okay, but all right, but hold on. Tannehill did not have a terrible year though. I'm looking at his stats. 38-19 yards. He had a 65.5% completion percentage, 37 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He was 4th in the league in QBR at 78.7. And he ran a little bit with the ball. He had 266 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns. So he didn't have a terrible year. And he had weapons on the outside, A.J. Brown, Corey Davis. So, I'm not surprised that they won. Like I said, I think they were going to have a very strong year. Clearly, the offense is being carried by Derrick Henry, who's an absolute tank. Yep. 378 attempts, 2,027 yards, 17 touchdowns. That's league leading in all 3 of those categories among running backs. So, like we had predicted, he was going to be a lot of the offense, but don't knock Tannehill for being a fairly consistent quarterback, which is exactly what he is. He put up very good numbers for a team that was going to be as a primary running team.
Oh, it's fair. I just don't like Ryan Tannehill. Like, I don't know what else to say.
Okay. It's fine. But you can't deny the fact that he didn't have a terrible year.
He had a good year. He had a
Thank you.
Statistical year in terms of touchdowns to interceptions. So he did his job.
Okay.
More than
I'm glad we're on.
Yeah.
Now their defense on the other hand was not as strong.
It's a sieve. Just open.
Yeah. 28th in total yards per game, 29th in passing yards per game, 19th in rushing yards per game. They had one of the back end defenses, if not one of the worst defenses. Yeah. I don't want to say worst defenses because there are definitely ones that were much worse. But there's a reason why they finished 11-5. Even their defense may have been terrible, but still good enough to hold on to 11 wins. It's definitely going to be all offense with the Titans this year, much like it kind of was in last year when they made it all the way to the I believe it was the AFC title game. Yeah. And when it comes to the defense, they have a team that was not great in most aspects of the offense except for the run. They were first in rushing yards per game. And the main reason for that is Lamar Jackson. And it's crazy. I actually looked this up because I was really curious. So Lamar Jackson had 2,757 yards passing on 376 attempts this year. So I looked it up, and for among starting quarterbacks who have started at least 12 games this year, only Cam Newton has fewer attempts. So that right there kind of tells me that the only thing that the Titans D really has to worry about is going to be the run, because Jackson's not going to throw the ball. He did it a lot last year against them. I have the notes for his stats last year when they played Tennessee. He went 31 for 59, so he did throw the ball a lot more, 365 yards, but he did throw 2 picks. He had 20 rushing attempts for 143 yards. So it was a mix of both, but seeing as how good his running offense has been this year, I mean, even if it's not him running, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, they both had pretty good years this year as well. They're going to want to run the ball. So if the Titans can just focus on stopping the run, I think they have a great chance of winning this game.
Yeah. So I want to piggyback off like everything you just said. First of all, it's absolutely.
I know I said a lot.
It's absolutely criminal that this game is on at 105. This is, I mean, without a doubt in my mind, the game I'm most excited for this whole wild card round, and it's on Sunday at 105. This should be Sunday 8 whatever on whatever fucking channel that game's on, NBC. That's why I want to do this last, because there's just no reason why this has to be on at 1 o'clock on a Sunday.
No, there is a reason. I can see right off the top of my head why there's a reason. The Steelers and Browns is a divisional matchup.
I don't care.
It's a divisional matchup. That's why. That's why. I'm telling you, that's the reason why.
So
that would they think that would draw more ratings, so they're going to put that in the 8 o'clock game. I agree with you that this kind of matchup, Titans and Ravens, I would love to see it at a night game. But Steelers, Browns, divisional matchup, wild card weekend, I think that you can see why they're going to go with the 8 o'clock start on that one.
So you could put the fucking Steelers Browns Saturday night and flip around the Buccaneers and Washington game that no one's going to give a fucking shit about.
Fair.
But whatever. I don't want to. We don't have to digress into that. But like, look, I think this game's really interesting because Derrick Henry literally did whatever the fuck he wanted all season, but especially last year against the Ravens, like they just couldn't stop him. They couldn't stop him. They tried to get better on the interior part of their line in free agency in the offseason. And I think that's in large part because they got literally punched in the fucking mouth by Derrick Henry to end their season when they were one of the best teams in the league last year, record-wise. And I think like this is a big game for Lamar Jackson's, I don't want to say legacy, but like how he's looked at, because Perk and I
agree.
Perk and I did this. It's so funny that it sucks that Perk can't be here because he previewed the AFC North with me, and we've talked about 3 AFC North teams. But we talked about like how Lamar Jackson, like we think is a very talented football player, but we don't like, and we're not breaking any fucking news here. Like we don't know how he is as a quarterback. Like I'm not that high on Lamar Jackson, the quarterback. I'm high on Lamar Jackson, the athlete, the runner, the overall football player. But like, if the Titans run all over the Ravens again, can Lamar Jackson bring you back into the game? I think that answer may be yes, because the Titans defense is that terrible. But like, I don't know. Like if like, I don't know. And I think it's that's my answer is I don't know. I have no fucking clue. But like Lamar Jackson, this game is like, I think it is. This is literally Lamar Jackson's legacy game right here. They can't. Yeah, he can't be embarrassed like he was last year against the Titans. He just can't.
I 100% agree with you. I remember the last 2 years I've watched the Ravens playoff games. And both times after the game, I said to myself, Lamar Jackson, I mean, he can do whatever he wants in the regular season, but until he proves it to me that he can do it in the big stage, I don't know if I can take him seriously as a quarterback. Like you said, great athlete, great football player. The guy, he's as athletic and agile and quick as you can ask for in a player. But can he lead a team as the starting quarterback to a Super Bowl? And he hasn't been able to get past, I think, the first round of the playoffs either year. So
Well, I
yeah,
think
that does concern me a little bit.
his rookie year, I think I give him a little bit of a pass. I wasn't expecting a whole lot, but but still, he hasn't gotten past the first round.
Still,
Ever.
he's had two straight playoff appearances, and he's underperformed in both of them. Clearly, he did much better last year in terms of passing than he did the previous
100%.
year.
100%.
But it's he can't rely on his legs so much. He's got to have faith in his arm. He's got to be able to get his receivers involved. I mean, you have Marquise Brown, who I think has several times, if I'm not mistaken, has been like, why aren't you throwing me the ball? Like, I'm open. Like, I know you want to run, but like, get the ball downfield and let's do some work. And it's upsetting a little bit because I kind of want to see Jackson air it out, but he's known for his legs. So if you can develop your defense, all about basically stopping him, like they did last year, then, like I said, I think the Titans have a very good shot at winning this game. Just to end it, going off that, me being as high as I was on the Titans this year, I don't think necessarily they're Super Bowl material. I mean, that could clearly change depending on how well they play this weekend and so forth. But seeing as how I was so high on them preseason, you called me crazy taking them over the Colts. I am going to take the Titans in this game. I think Derrick Henry is going to do what he does, and he's going to put his team on his back, and he's just going to run all over that defense. As good as that defense has been this year, they didn't stop Henry last year. And I don't know if necessarily I could be completely wrong. I mean, people could be hearing this and be like, you're absolutely nuts. The Ravens are going to destroy them. Yeah, they could. But I don't want to, step away from the team that I was like, I hope they do as well as they do. So I prove Scott wrong. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Titans in this one.
Yeah, I mean, the last time they met, Derrick Henry ran for 133 yards. Titans won in overtime by 6. Lamar Jackson had a touchdown and a pick. So, that's nothing special. 186 passing yards. I don't know. I think it's kind of funny, right? Because I wonder, if Derrick Henry, if he really gets going, right, and he goes on these, insanely long runs that lead to touchdowns, but, shorter drives, is that a good thing for the Titans, or is it better if, if the Ravens' run defense actually does a fairly good job, but, the drives for the Titans get longer? Because if the drives for the Titans get longer, right, then it feeds into the Ravens' offensive plan because they really can't play from behind that well because they're so geared on the run and just sets with a bunch of tight ends. It's not an offensive formula for huge success. So I think you're really banking on Derrick Henry if you're the Titans. Obviously, not breaking news there.
Oh, of course. But here's something else though. Let's say the Ravens know that the Titans are going to be banking on Derrick Henry for most of the game, which they probably will be. Let's say they're going to overload stopping him on the run, and the Titans can then, audible out to try and get, Davis and Brown open for Tannehill. And, I mean, they could do damage that way too. I mean, it's interesting. They can overload, stop Henry, and then try and leave a lot of one-on-one matchups on the outside, which I think
they're going to do.
As good as the Ravens defense is, I mean, the Titans wide receivers can absolutely, they can overcome that. Or they try and play straight up and then hope that their front line is able to stop Henry from having these big runs. So I think it can kind of work for Tennessee in both ways. And it could ultimately hurt the Ravens. And like you said, they're not good from playing from behind. So if once they go down, do you trust Jackson enough to try and lead them back, knowing that his main focus of power is his legs?
Well, I think it's also just the offensive play sheets focus of power is Lamar Jackson's legs. I don't think it's as creative as it could be. It's why I think Lamar kind of gets a bad rap, for me also, because he's just doing what the plays are. I don't think the Ravens have done enough as an organization to really enhance him as a passer.
But
So,
there have been times throughout the year where he's had receivers open, but he's decided just to take off. I mean, he worries more about
yeah, but I just think that's how
getting
he's
the ball a
coached.
couple extra. I mean, it's possible. I very much could be wrong. It's
you're
just been
literally
how long can you do that for as an NFL quarterback?
how long can
I
you do
mean,
that as an NFL?
you got to be able to throw
I
the
think
ball.
that's what they're doing. I mean, you
Well, if that's the case, then how many more years can he have this kind of success?
Well, I mean, the Ravens rely on 3 tight ends and fucking Hollywood Brown. So, I mean, that right there is the main method is going to be Lamar Jackson with tight ends on the field, sell run, and then pass, or Lamar Jackson takes off. So, like, I don't know, like Lamar Jackson, I'm really trying here because I'm picking the Ravens. I'm picking the Ravens because I want Lamar Jackson to shut everyone up, including myself. I want him to prove me
Look,
wrong.
if the Ravens win, I'm not going to hate it at all because then, finally, like you said, Lamar Jackson has proven us wrong. But until I can see that, in a big game situation, which I haven't in his first 2 years of his career, I don't know if I can, confidently say, "Oh, the Ravens are going to blow the Titans out of the water," especially given the fact that they beat the Titans beat them last year. The Titans have the best running back in football, and they beat them earlier this year as well.
In overtime.
In overtime, yes, but it's still a win.
I know. I'm just saying. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm going with the Ravens minus 3.5 just because I want the story of Lamar Jackson. That's what I'm rooting for.
I wouldn't hate it at all if they come out with a win. I can't jump ship on the Titans after being told, after saying, they're gonna do good this year. Henry's gonna be a beast. Tannehill's gonna be consistent. He does have weapons on the outside. Blah blah blah. And I can't jump ship once they get to the playoffs and then be like, oh, now I'm off that. I'm not gonna do that. So I'm gonna ride my Titans wave into the first round of the playoffs.
It's fair. I'm upset I couldn't do that because my waves were the Bills and the Colts, and they play each other. So, I had to choose.
Yeah, you could take the Colts if you want.
No,
you could take the Colts if you want. That'll be a hell of an upset, but
no, I don't think so. I'm gonna go Bills 6.5 still.
All
right. So yeah, I mean, I think that was good. I think I had nothing else that I needed to say about either game. I guess the main question here, Pat, that we can touch on for like just a parting shot. So obviously the Kansas City Chiefs are the number 1 seed in the AFC, so they have the bye. They will play the winner of Bills Colts, and then the winner of Steelers Browns will play the winner of Titans Ravens. Who do you think the Bills? Because we both picked the Bills. Do you think the Bills can beat Kansas City? And if no, do you think there is anyone in the AFC who can beat Kansas City?
I think the only team in the AFC that has a shot at beating Kansas City is the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, it's so
saying
that it has to be the next fucking game.
I know. Saying that though, like I don't know necessarily if the Bills will beat the Titans. The Chiefs, simply because Pat Mahomes and company are just they're on another level when it comes to that offense. But
yeah. I just missed. I missed.
Were you wrong with it?
No, I misspoke. The Chiefs will still play the lowest seed. It's not necessarily. They're not necessarily playing.
Okay, there you go. All right. Well, either way,
sorry.
I'm still saying the only team in the AFC right now, I think that has a chance of beating the Chiefs is going to be the Bills.
Yeah.
It would definitely be like an offensive matchup. I don't know how good the Chiefs secondary, the defensive secondary is compared to the Bills. I think the Bills may have, the Chiefs still have Tyrann Mathieu. The Bills have Trey White, and Poyer as well. So I think that's as closely matchup that you can get. And if we get to see that game, I'm going to be very much tuned in because that's going to be a very interesting game. But the Bills are the only team I have faith in that could beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, so I fall like a couple ways here. So like first of all, I'm with you. The Bills, I think, is like the realistic, like I think everyone, not everyone, but a large majority could see the Bills beating the Chiefs. I do think though that like the thought of like the Titans or the Browns making it there is kind of interesting because they love to run the ball. So like I how so like if you can keep Mahomes off the field, although like he does not need that offense does not need very long to score, but I do think that's an angle that the Browns can play and the Titans can obviously play. I think the Browns can play it a little better than the Titans because there's obviously two elite running backs and um they're not as like big heavy hitters like big hitters like Derrick Henry is, but I do think that's something that would be interesting. But I think the Bills have the best shot. But I wouldn't sleep on like the
Absolutely.
Browns or the Titans doing it or like I don't know. It,
Well,
I don't think the Ravens can though, well, or the
let
Steelers.
me see. Like, I'm curious as to see where the Chiefs' rushing defense landed this year.
Well,
So
like
I want to look that up while we can.
while you look it up, like I will say, like I haven't been like blown away for an entire game from the Chiefs like this whole season. Like I think they've had a lot of good stretches in the game, but like I don't think they've really. I don't know if we've seen them turn it on yet, which is the scary part. So like if they flip that switch, then probably no one can beat them. But like I don't like whether it was like a little Super Bowl hangover for the regular season and it was like kind of weird because of COVID or whatever. But like I don't know if they were like fully. They didn't look fully checked in at all times in the regular season. So it's going to be interesting to see them like actually flip that switch for the postseason here when they do eventually play.
All right. So according to ESPN, the Chiefs had the 19th or 20th best rushing defense in terms of yards per game.
Middle of the pack.
So they gave up 122.1 yards per game average. So that puts them right, towards the bottom, not like, 28, 29, 30, whatever, but, in the 20s. Yeah. So, I mean, it's really, I don't know. I mean, I think the running game obviously is going to be what gets the Browns or the Titans through if they advance. Clearly, the two different styles of run both teams have definitely is a massive difference. Derrick Henry, like we said, is a brick wall. He'll ground and pound is his name, and then you got Chubb and Hunt, who are probably more of the agile, find the hole, slip through, everything like that. So I think the difference in running games, the different styles, is definitely a factor. But straight up, like we said, I think the Bills, Josh Allen and company, there, plus their better defense compared to the Browns and Titans, everything like that. They have a better chance. I mean, I don't know. Man, we're right away. We're knocking off the Steelers and the Ravens, because clearly those two defenses, and we know how good they are. But Pat Mahomes, I feel like still, regardless of how good your defense is, he's going to eat you up. It's all a matter of keeping him off the field, and the best way to do it may be through the run game, which, I mean, even with the Ravens with Jackson, but again, how long can you get away with doing that?
Yep. All right, so that's good. I just thought we would touch on it because obviously, I think besides being, the one seed, I think the Chiefs are obviously one of the more, intriguing teams in the NFL that, a lot of just general football fans enjoy watching. So just wanted to touch on them a little. But we can get out of here now, Pat. I think that's fine. Do you wanna wrap it up here since you are hosting?
I mean, technically, I led. You're the host. I was more or less the guest. I was just running the content that we were saying.
All right. So, all right.
Next time I get my own episode.
Yes.
Mr. Producer. Yes. I'll take care of everything.
Yes.
Which I'm sure come baseball season, you're gonna give me a lot of time to work on my own or with a guest of my choosing, which would probably mostly be our good friend Chris Bukowski.
Give you all the time you want. All right, guys. So this is obviously the end of the AFC episode. We will do an episode like this before every round of the NFL playoffs. One for the AFC, one for the NFC. I think they're going to be probably released the same day every week. So the AFC should be out on Thursdays unless like scheduling changes. I'm going to record the NFC with Kevin on Thursday, January 7th. So you guys will see that on Friday. So you guys will have both episodes in time for NFL Wildcard Weekend, which starts Saturday at 1 o'clock p.m. Pat, thank you for coming on and doing this and doing all the research. Appreciate
Thank you.
Guys, go check us out on Instagram, the underscore on the bench, Twitter at the OTB, and we will be back next time. See you, Pat.
Take care, bud.